Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the CD guy, Johnny Z here. Thanks so much for tuning back into the channel, and today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on the official release of The General by Guns N' Roses and why I think it's time for GNR to start writing new music. I've reviewed the latest round of leaks for The General back when it was supposed to be released back in October. I also reviewed the first live performance of The General last month, so I guess it's only fitting that I share my thoughts now on the official version of the song, the long-standing hidden gem from the Chinese democracy era that has finally now been given an official release, and the digital release at that. At first it was not going to be given a digital release, which is weird. It didn't make much sense, but, not a lot of things GNR do these days make sense. But I wanted to talk about the track briefly here, compare it to the leaks and live versions of the tail end of the GNR tour, and, with that in mind, let's get into the song. The song sounds a lot more polished than the leaks did from a production standpoint, which I had predicted. The latest round of leaks from a couple months ago didn't sound completely finished, so the sound is much crisper here, in my opinion. The only complaint I'd have in terms of the sound is that weird vocal effect they have on Axl's voice throughout, which, can almost sound echoing and robotic at times, so not a big fan of that. I much more prefer the live versions of this track, where they do without that effect on his voice, even though Axl's vocals are obviously not what they used to be. We know now the General has been, lying around in some form since the early 2000s, and so it definitely sounds to me, that Axl may have gone into the studio and re-recorded certain vocal parts here for this track, because throughout I can definitely identify a back and forth between Axl's vocals from, his current voice and his early 2000s voice during the Chinese democracy era, which is pretty interesting for sure. Ultimately, I echo similar sentiments to what I had to say about the leaks of the General on its live debut, which is, it's really cool to have this track, and I'm glad GNR finally decided to give it a proper release, since fans have been waiting for it for years. Is it top shelf Guns N' Roses? I don't think so. Sorry to say that after all these years of waiting, but still it's solid, and it's also good to see GNR, releasing stuff, at the very least collaborating together and finally issuing some older shelved material, which brings me to my next point. GNR seem to be coasting on the releases of Chinese leftovers like Absurd, formerly of course known as Silkworms, Hard School, and now The General, with rumors of Atlas Shrugged being next. While I enjoy having these songs, I think it's time GNR stops coasting and starts writing new material from scratch together in the studio, because Slash and Duff have been back in the band for 8 years, and how many songs have they written with Axl together from scratch? 0 that we know of, right? And, it's cool as, as cool as the novelty of having some of these Chinese democracy era songs are, I hope we get new music from the band sooner than later, but again, this is GNR we're talking about, so I wouldn't necessarily hold my breath. If I were GNR, I'd plan to release whatever Chinese democracy leftover tracks they have in the vault on one big compilation album. You can even call it Chinese Democracy Part 2 for all intents and purposes, and finally move on. Think of these tracks as a creative albatross, holding them back from writing new music together. Once these old unreleased tracks are out of the way, the band needs to start working together with, fresh ideas and give us a brand new GNR album in the next couple of years, worthy of what Slash, Duff, and Axl are capable of doing together. They're all creative guys. I really enjoy Slash's more recent work with Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. Duff just released a really cool solo project, and Axl, well, he kind of limits himself to Guns N' Roses over the years. There's no denying, Axl, Slash, and Duff, what they've done together, specifically, part of that early GNR material, is iconic. So, to have them working together again from scratch would be something that I think the fans deserve, and, I can already hear the comments now of people saying, yeah, well, don't hold your breath, kid. I know, it's frustrating. It's frustrating being a Guns N' Roses fan. Is it practical we're going to get a new album from them soon? Probably not, right? I just did 3 videos covering the final Kiss show, right? And the big takeaway from all 3 of those videos were, it's frustrating being a Kiss fan, so I can imagine it's frustrating being a GNR fan as well. So don't be surprised if we never get a new album from them again. But as far as I'm concerned, even if it's just a pipe dream, it would be the best next step for the band to take, just, from a fan's perspective. So that wraps up this review here of the official digital release of The General, as well as me sharing my thoughts here on the future of Guns N' Roses, why they should start writing new music together in the studio. If you enjoyed this video or if you agree with me, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below, turn on the bell for notifications so you never miss a new upload, and let me know down in the comment section below what are your thoughts on the final version of The General. Is it better than the leaks? Is it better live? Let me know your thoughts, and also, what's your stance on future GNR material? Would you like to hear a new album in the future? I want to hear from you. And until next time, it's the CD guy, Johnny Z, signing off. Take care, everybody.